So tomorrow, or should I say Saturday, will be a new year. So we have a few days left before we usher in 2022. And we have lots of people out there going through struggles, me included. And they're going through struggles internally and externally. Dawning says, I will rage. I wasn't planning on this, but I think I will send Dawning a link. Why is he raging? I tell people, and I tell myself this as well, that one should expect from life the worst, hope for the best, but always expect the worst. Expect that your opposition, whether it's your cravings, your inner demons, will show you no mercy, and that the outside world will also show you no mercy, for they are your opposition. We have Dawning Armor, who said he would rage. So Dawning, come in and tell me why you are raging, or if you are raging.
I am. I'm coming into this new year angry. You're a film guy. What's that movie? I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.
That is the movie Network, and it's a good film. Although, like I said, I'm not as connected to cinema it's impactful, but there are things that I see as differently now. I have new eyes when I look at it, and different types of perspective on most film.
Well, I've had a few stressful days, and trying not to revert to my anger, but you know what? Is swearing allowed on this show? It's best to be avoided.
What was the question? I had to take leave real quickly. The stove was accidentally on. Is what allowed on the show?
Swearing, cursing.
Yeah, sure. We've gone this far. Swearing's allowed. Go ahead.
All right, I'll try not to use the unforgivable words, but I'm sick and tired of these cocksucking motherfuckers that they try to destroy our goddamn people. And I think the old me is coming back, bro. And I'm fucking sick of this shit. I'm sick of the anti-whiteism. I'm sick of, they like to call themselves woke. They're not fucking woke. They're anti-white pieces of shit, dog shit. And they will do anything in their power to try to take white people down. And white people have been taken down, and we're losing this. And I get so frustrated sometimes that I, man, oh, I gotta, I, this next year needs to be a year of awakening for our people, uh, blamed for all the evils of the world and given credit for none of the good doings that we have brought. And every other group of people have prospered because of the labor, the torment, the blood, sweat, and tears of white people. And these ungrateful pieces of shit, these ungrateful pieces of shit, they show us nothing. They blame us for everything, and they give us no compassion and no love and no gratitude. The only reason why they probably even exist, if you're a non-white, is because of white people. We did it all. I'm sorry I'm rambling, and I'm varying off topic or something, but I'm angry. Last night was a stressful night for me, and concluded.
Well, I noticed you mentioned like Angela, and I don't want to be necessarily the harsh devil's advocate, um, but I for myself look around the world, and I do have it pretty good compared to other places around the world, and perhaps yes. It may be because of people of European descent made that way possible. I'm not sure enough whether I can really decipher, like, I mean, I look at history and stuff, but uh, there are plenty of things that we've, uh, information and technology that we've gotten from other cultures. I could be wrong on this, but uh,
Name one.
I believe paper came from the Chinese, and pasta also came from the Chinese. So that's something that I gain. And there are people of different racial and ethnic backgrounds that I admire, and I've gained some insight. And the fact is, the world is the way it is to a degree, and I may not be able to change any of that. Um, and human beings are going to do what is in their best interest. Uh,
You literally said paper and pasta. I was under the impression that Asians, but Western Asiatic people produced paper. And the other one was pasta. So, I mean, that's what they've given to the world. They're not hated. They're taught to love themselves. We're taught to hate ourselves. They gave us paper and pasta, and I'm sure they gave us some other inventions. I'm not saying that they
Powder as
did.
well, I believe. Yeah. I mean, I'm not, but uh, I- again, because and again, Donning, do you ever put yourself in another man's shoes or another man's moccasins, or do you ever put yourself in their shoes and see what it's like on their ground?
Yes, I most certainly do.
Um, you know, I wanted to get to the fact I've known of two homeless people that I knew. One was white and the other was black, and both of those individuals were very. The white person was very pro-white, and the black person was very pro-black. And actually, when I looked at both of their stories, I found that the black person had a far harder life. I mean, he lost his mother at 5, and his father was a drug addict. And some people find security in their ethnic and their ethnic or racial beliefs. Many of them that I have come across, and including myself, have had rather difficult and hard upbringings. Um, do you see a pattern within that? Because I see that in myself, and I do recognize that white people and people of European descent are not treated well. And for me, it's by the left. You may see something different, but I'll let you continue. I don't know if I'm
Well,
making.
I will. I will respond to that. Uh, Never once have I said that uh, white people are inherently better than everyone. I've said that white people are deracinated. We're being there's white erasure. We're being destroyed, and we're being taught to hate ourselves. Although, when I asked what has non-whites contributed to humanity, you said paper and pasta. You know just as well as I do, just as well as everyone in here does, that white people have contributed what 99% of all inventions, all progress. The only reason why these non-whites even exist, why they live, is because of us. When we went to sub-Saharan African, there is absolutely no archaeological evidence that they even invented the wheel. These people were nomadic, living in the Stone Age. The same thing when they came to the United States. They were nomads. They were living in the Stone Age. The only reason why I'm even able to talk to you, Brian, is because white people invented all this. They harnessed the power of electricity. I've even heard somebody say that a black person invented peanut butter. Guess what? It's a lie. They're grasping at straws. They hate us because we are great. And all we've tried to do, and if you look at colonization around the world, areas of the world that were colonized are they have a much better quality of life. So these are non-white people, a much better quality of life than those areas that were not colonized. That's true in Africa. That's true in Asia. That's true in Australia. It's true in South America. It's true everywhere. I'm sorry. I'm angry. I had a bad day. I apologize, bro. But what I
Well,
say is true. So I'll let the microphone go.
can you describe what happened on your bad day? Was there anything that triggered this, perhaps?
Yeah. Remember when you said on another show that sometimes it's the people that are closest to you that have hurt you the most?
Yes.
Well, there you go. Um, I don't want to go into detail on anything, but somebody close to me hurt me. Whether it was intentional or not, I don't know. Um, I don't think so, but yeah, it triggered me. Obviously, I'm pissed off, and I deal with that like my blood pressure rises, and I just want to rage. And sometimes I think it's good to rage. Sometimes I think it's good to go out, walk out naked in the fucking forest and scream, as loud as you can. You need to release that tension. And that's what I'm trying to do here, unfortunately, on your stream. And I apologize for it, but I'm not going to fucking apologize because I don't give a shit. I'm pissed off. I want to hurt someone. The old fucking donning armor's coming back. And man, I wish Howard or some bitch was on here because I'd fucking have something to say to him today, man. But then that would make for a shitty show, and I don't want to do that. So I have to let it out a little bit at a time. Breathe, practice your stoicism. I'm not good at it. I'm not good at it, but I need to Yeah, I'm embarrassing myself, and I'm going to look back at this stream, and I will feel embarrassed. But at times, temperatures, they rise, and I think it's completely human and normal. I told you, embrace your emotions. You don't subdue them. You embrace them, and you let them flow in a positive state. I don't know if I'm doing that right now. I'm just venting towards you. I apologize. Your mic.
Well, it's good that you're venting towards me and not towards somebody that perhaps might be innocent to your anger. I can say this: um, every moment, many moments of anger that I've expressed, I have regretted, particularly towards my parents. And my parents were not perfect, and I kind of realized after they had passed on that we are not raised by angels, but by human beings. And human beings encompass this earth. There are people that are like my parents. There are people that are like my father on this earth. And you're going to come across people perhaps like your mother or your father or your uncle, and they'll come in all different shades and all different types of races. And it's how you respond to it. And I still struggle with my anger. And I am also a person who is on the conservative side, who sees people of European descent often abused and mistreated by those in the ideological left. And I know you don't like me using those terms, but I am angry at them, and I have been uh, on public forums mistreated by those individuals. But I expect that. I expect the worst in humanity, and it's how I respond to that humanity, that viciousness coming at me. I do believe in self-defense. I do believe, I do believe that people that wrong me should be punished, but sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes what I desire is not going to come forward, and I try to wake up every day and realize that uh, not only not only within myself, but those outside of myself are you're going to come across cruel, vicious, and vindictive human beings. How you choose to respond to it, how you choose to connect with it, and also uh, how you choose to avoid or not avoid it. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but many times it is. It's avoid. Many times conflict is avoidable. I'll leave the mic to you, Donning, and see what you have.
Yeah, and I think that avoidance is the best policy for the most part. Uh, and you were talking about expectations. And what is love? I'll ask you, but I'll give my answer. What is love? Because it's a very complicated topic. And I've been thinking about this. Before, I thought that love is giving your life for somebody else. Um, I hope I'm not rambling off topic here, but I do want to weave it into what you just said. I used to think that love was the willingness to sacrifice yourself for somebody else. And now I'm starting to lead towards love is not expecting anything from another person. They may do something that hurts you, they may do something that pleases you greatly, but having no expectation of another. I think that might be my definition of love. And sometimes you're let down, and sometimes you're lifted up. Uh, Sometimes you're angered, and sometimes you're pleased. Uh, right now, I'm a little let down, and I'm a little angry. But I need my time to express my emotions. And I'd love Sly to be, no, stop it. I'm not going to say anything. I just, I think it's important for us to go to those, uh, I, what's the word for it? That raw emotional energy and to let it out and express it in visceral ways. And Stoicism seems to be against that. So I don't know if I can get behind it. Um, I'm the type of person where if I'm angered, I will express that anger in violent fashion, which legally in the modern world is bad, but 1,000 years ago it was respected. And um, and if I feel loved or I feel happy, then I express that by, you know, charitable acts and kind deeds to others. I strive for the other because I don't like to be angry. But I think by this stoic nature, this stoic calmness that you express, maybe we're taking away a part of our humanity. I bring back the barbarians. I want Conan the Barbarian back. That's what I grew up with. I mean, there's something lost when we get rid of that. Passion uh, is just as important as harnessing your desires and your emotions. And I think I've ranted enough. So go for it, bro.
Even the best soldiers or the best fighters know to both harness both their fear and their anger. And I prefer to live in a civilized world where people think before they act, and uh, in a court of law where people think before they act. Now, we're not seeing that right now from the left, and I don't want to be the exact opposite of that.
I, I
People,
don't I don't want to interrupt you, but is that, I mean, are we shedding a part of our humanity when we do something like that, where everybody is stoic and everybody is rational and reasonable? Is that a world that we can possibly hope to obtain? Because I don't see it. We need we need to understand that we don't work that way. We don't operate that way. Does a civil society operate that way? And is it better at times? Yes, but it's to deny our human nature, to deny our emotions. And I think that we need to learn to work with both. Some people lose control, some people do terrible things. It happens all the time. We've seen it demonstrated over the past 2 years. Since St. George Floyd, we've especially seen it. But even before the Floyd incident, we've seen it all throughout history. Are we to deny our nature?
um, human societies. Well, you said deny your emotions, and I don't believe in denying your emotions, but I do not believe in just completely acting on your emotions. Uh, in a civil society where people are just barbarous and act on their emotions, they are not societies that are as livable as societies that do the right thing. Uh, I had the emotion not to get up this morning. I wanted the blankets and covers to cover me, but I went to work. And if everyone just did on their emotions and decided to stay in and not and take it easy or tear things down, there would be nothing built and things like that. The greatest things that were built were people that harnessed their emotions in a healthy way. And you can recognize your anger, and you can recognize your feelings. But for me, even when I'm angry, my intellect tells me that all human beings should be considered for due process before I enact some sort of punishment if I have the power to do so. So I try to give people a chance. Sometimes sometimes in an instant like that, I mean, there are instances where that's not the case, where you just have to act and defend. But for the most part, when you're stewing about things and then you act on that anger, you will regret it. On average, as I said before, every time that I have acted out of anger after stewing about it and then confronting somebody and giving them a dose of my anger, I have regretted my response. That's me. Now, you may not, but I have.
No, I I see where you're coming from, and to a certain point, I agree with you. However, the whole when you reference fighters and the fighters that can control their emotions and the fighters let loose, it does not necessarily work out that way. There are many fighters that have said, well, let's take Mike Tyson. He's probably the most popular example. He was angry. He let loose with his emotions, and he was the heavyweight champion of the world. The greatest structures that were built um, in, the historic world, not the modern day age, Rome and all these things, those were built on the backs of men that released the rage at times. In times of warfare, they conquered and enslaved Europeans and Mediterraneans and various groups. And they built the greatest society, the civilization that the world had ever known at that time. And they spread out, and they did that not through being stoic and calm. They did that through exploiting the emotions, the human characteristics, the human traits that we all possess. Every single human being on this planet has these things. So I, I think it's one extreme to the other. Don't let your emotions control you, but also don't just subdue your emotions and push them down. Uh, it just, in my opinion, it goes both ways. I apologize for the birds chirping. I need this right now. Uh, I just want to do something that I know I'll regret later. But I'm still angry, and I'm embracing that anger. I've said enough.
You've asked me to describe love. For me, love is something that I want, but I don't need it. And it's one of the greatest wants, but I need to eat. I need to drink. I certainly even shelter is something that I want, but I don't necessarily need. But I will feel like if I don't have well, sometimes you need shelter as well when it's cold out. I couldn't imagine being homeless at a time like this. Although there are, and there are times when I need cooperation for things to work out better. But sometimes I'm not even granted that. So
We, I apologize. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
no, go ahead.
Yes. What is it? It's the three big needs in life. You need sustenance, you need water, and you need shelter. This is obvious, but I would also argue that you need to express your animalistic nature at times, and that animalistic nature can come through love, it can come through hate, it can come through anger, it can come through many forms, including stoicism. we need to understand that we are multifaceted individuals. We do contain multitudes. We are animals. Uh, whether they believe like JP does that we came from a divine spark or not, we have these baser instincts, and I think that they do need to be expressed. I think that people should run out in the forest every now and then, butt naked, and howl like a wolf, and punch a tree, or get angry, or let it out. I don't think that we should suppress these things. Excuse me. I think that
I
they.
agree with you.
Okay, all right. I'll let you comment. I think I was going to ramble again.
I agree with you. You should let things out, and uh, if you're in a place where it's legal to do so, run out and get naked and hit a tree if you feel that, and work out as hard and as vigorously as you can. And but before a person shows their anger towards another person, think about it a day. Think about it a day, and then you know and do the pros and cons, and do that, and have that discipline. Go ahead.
Yeah, but when it comes to rage, that it's just not in human nature to do that. You don't think about it; you act on it. Um, and that's just a part of it. When you look, okay, I'll give you an example. Um, I was listening to Stephen Fry, I believe Stephen Fry, and he gave an example of how he was walking through the forest. This is a gay British man, intellectual, academic type, and he's done many nature documentaries. And he remembered once being at war within himself, and he spotted a tree frog. And as he described, he said that he spotted this tree frog, and he looked at it and wondered, is this tree frog a happy tree frog, or is it a sad tree frog? Is it, does it contemplate the meaning of life? Does it sit on that tree branch and think about, well, what did I do today? Was I a good tree frog or a bad tree frog? They don't. Animals don't do this, and we are animals. All it is it exists. It's a tree frog. There is nothing there. It doesn't contemplate. This separates us from the rest of the animal kingdom, in a sense. But I would like to preserve and retain some of those animalistic traits, and it happens regardless of whether you think that we should be stoic or not. It exists. People are going to rage on occasion. They're going to be human on occasion. Now, repressing those thoughts, desires, feelings, and emotions is not always necessarily the good way to go. Uh, Sometimes we just need to embrace our characteristics, and we are a tribalistic people. We're a loving people. We're altruistic people, but we're also a savage, vicious people. Uh, and it's finding a balance in between those two things. And I think that we've lost that balance to some extent. And maybe I'll just go out and punch somebody in the face and go to prison for today. No, I'm just joking. I'm not. I don't condone violence of any kind. But I hope that made some sense. You tell me.
Well, again, for me, I want to rise above my animal nature, and rise above the ease. And I look at uh, I look at the place where I live, and the building in which I live, and the structures in where I live, and I say to myself, I believe that these people rose above many of the people that built these structures that remain, that keep the streets, you know,
Sir,
yeah, go ahead.
how high do you have to rise above your nature until you're not even human anymore? Is this the goal? To not be actual human? To be something other? Doesn't make sense to me.
Oh no, I'll always be human, but I'll be a human that rises above my nature, and I don't know how good or how bad I will do that, but I will rise above my nature and do the best that I possibly can. And I am very grateful for the life that I have now, even though it's with hardship. I see all the comforts that are around me, uh, that somebody else did. As great as this society is, I had nothing to do with it. I mean, I may be on the winning team, like perhaps uh, that people of European descent built it, but I didn't do it.
No, it's not that white people are on the winning team. White people are on the losing team. We're the ones that are criticized. We're the ones that are beaten down. We're the ones that are oppressed. Identity politics is real and it should be embraced. As I said previously, we need division because it is not the similarities that make us similar. It is the differences that make us different. And white people just don't get it for the most part. Perhaps you do, perhaps others out there do. Well, they certainly do. I know them. Uh, but we need to stop this we're all human, we're all the same nonsense. Absolute nonsense. You can go to the analogy of differing species of dogs. They've been around for about 10,000 years, domesticated dogs. Nobody would say that a bull mastiff or a pit bull is the same as a teacup chihuahua or a poodle. They have inherent characteristics that are just a part of their biology, and they've been bred into them, selectively bred into them. Well, that's that's evolution, and human beings possess different characteristic traits, just like dogs do, just like all life does. This is evolution 101. And we have evolved separately in separate climates and separate environments, social and environmental, for different purposes. So to expect everybody to be the same and to treat everybody like they're the same is absolutely ridiculous. So everybody calls me some alt-right Nazi, whatever the hell it is. I'm not. I embrace the fact that there are inherent differences between us. I embrace those differences just as I embrace my emotions, and I behave the way that I behave based on my biology, whether it be environmental or it be biological. I embrace those differences. I accept those differences. And every now and then, I want to get violent, and perhaps it's a good thing. Obviously, not with today's legal system, which is geared towards or against white people. But I expect them, and I don't see them going away. Uh, okay, Mike Free.
That was a lot for me to digest, and I don't know if I can necessarily, I'm not here to convince you otherwise. I can only speak from my own viewpoint. Um, I think it is human nature to rise above one's nature. Uh, And oftentimes that is a struggle, and that is a fight. And it is a fight within me. It is a fight within other people as well. I expect that fight.
What does it mean to rise above nature?
Well, for me, being a diabetic, I want to eat sweet things. There are plenty of fat people that are 600 pounds and they have to rise above their nature, because their nature is they will eat themselves into an early grave. So people often have to fight their nature, whether they are addicted to alcohol or drugs. They have to fight their addictive personalities and fight the nature within them. And the same thing with anger. I mean, there are people that have anger issues, or they're bipolar, or any number of issues. Human beings have to fight their nature, and I'm one of them. I have to fight. I'm someone who has to fight some of my natural instincts, because we do live in a civilized world. We do not live. And by the way, the movies. I want to say this about movies. Movies have made it so real. I mean, being real, and because sometimes you're going to lose the fight, and you're not the champion of the day. You don't win the heavyweight championship of the world. You get knocked out by a guy from Palookaville who's a step above you. So there is a reality of a situation. Like, yeah, you could fight somebody and end up losing.
What
And
other animal has to rise above its? Does a tree frog have to rise above its nature? Is that its purpose?
we are not animals. I mean, we are animals, but we are humans. And uh, the purpose of a tree of a tree frog, or a lion or a tiger, those every animal that I know of on Earth, with the exception of dogs and certain animals, can rise above their nature. They can be actually trained, and maybe it's cruel to train them. I mean, I had a dog for years that I trained and that I loved, and I hope it loved me. But
So, are you a religious man or a theist of any kind?
um, I dabble between atheism and agnosticism. I am. I you know
Atheism is agnosticism is atheism. There's no
yeah.
difference.
Well, look, I do have hopes that there is an afterlife, and I'm always pleased by the human condition. So and I used to be much more of a hardcore atheist, but I've kind of softened my position, and I was actually even an atheist even after my mother passed away. I said, you know what, mom's dead, and I'm never going to see her again. And I could say my mom's dead and my dad is dead, and I'll never see them again. But I have a hope that, for me, I think it is technology and the human spirit that will make the loved ones that have passed away rise again, and make everlasting life on Earth, and make a heaven on Earth, and in other parts of the universe. I think the human mind is boundless, and human imagination is boundless. I have that hope. Maybe it's corny, but that's me.
That's yeah, it does sound very sci-fi, but who am I to say that it could never come to pass? Um, when I describe, and I know we're meandering around here, but when people ask me what happens when you die, uh, my response typically is um, the same thing that happened before you were conceived. You didn't exist. You come out of non existence, just as everything did, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Like you said, we don't know. And when you die, you return to that non-existence. It's like asking what uh, what happens after you finish a book, after you finish reading a book. Well, nothing happens. The book is over. There's no more story to tell. The book is done. And I find this hope. Well, we'll get into my atheistic paganism another time. Well, if you want to, we'll broach the issue right now. I could just simply say, I'm atheist. I don't believe in gods. That's all it means. It doesn't mean that gods don't exist. I don't know. How could I? I'm just me. And the but I don't believe in any. And then also with the paganism, I've had to try to find something to live for. And I think all people need something to live for. If you don't have a purpose in life, I think you will falter, you will fail, and you will die inevitably. We'll all die, but I think it'll be a little bit quicker. So what I've chosen to live for is my people. And what I see in paganism, I don't believe that Woden is riding across on his eight-legged horse the sky, and Thor is, doing, fighting battles against the Jotunheim. I don't believe in all that, but I think that it says something because stories matter. And that's why you appreciate movies. That's why movies are so popular. That's why poetry is so popular. Writing stories is so popular. Music telling is so popular because these things are the most important expressions. We respond to storytelling better than we do to, say, algebra. It's just our nature. It all comes back to the nature. And I am a pagan in the sense that I wish to preserve the culture of my ancestors, those that came before me. And well, let's hear what you have to say to that.
I certainly wish to preserve some things and perhaps to discard others.
That's a very wishy-washy answer, man.
Well, that may be true. To you, but I want to strive to be the best human being that I can. And if people follow, they follow. If they don't, they don't. I can't. I have no control over how I am perceived. There are people who have actually been upset with me just on this channel. I don't know them personally, but they've been upset because they believe that for whatever reason I promote racism or whatever that. I mean, I don't believe that I do, but I can't. I have no control over my opinion, and someone's opinion of me is not necessarily my concern. I
How would you define racism?
if it were up to me and I could write the definition, it is racial prejudice. It is beyond racial prejudice. It is racial dislike, even beyond prejudice, that you just don't like the person because of their race. That would be my definition if I were to define it. And But a lot of people define it as prejudice plus power, which is a rather Marxist view. People said Martin Luther King defined it that way, and that is also not true, by the way. He never said that, and I'm no fan. I'm no fan of putting anyone necessarily even on a pedestal. I believe that American holidays should celebrate events, but not people, because we are a nation of laws, not of men.
Yeah, and as I said, laws come from men, and I think that we should praise the acts, the accomplishments of men, especially our men, being white men and our ancestors, because of what they were able to accomplish. They certainly saw themselves not necessarily as a monolith, but they saw themselves as a tribe. And you have certain figures throughout history that have made great achievements. And I think that those should be uh, praised. We should strive ourselves to try to make great achievements, but for our kind, not necessarily against anyone else. Just we should embrace that. I think that some people call it ancestry worship. I don't worship anything, but I do. If I were, let's take another movie example, and I talked about Conan the Barbarian earlier. When I can look at that story, it's a story of revenge. It's a story of somebody, a young boy that was done wrong, his family slaughtered, and then spent his life gaining revenge and righting the wrongs that were were put on his family. To me, that inspires something in me. It makes me want to right the wrongs. It makes me want to progress. And I think that's a much more powerful form of, uh, I suppose, it's a much more inspirational form of storytelling. Is to take these attributes of these heroistic characters, and you get it throughout the Havamal and the poetic and prose sagas. These are stories of greatness, people overcoming adversity. And you also get it in the Bible and other forms of religion, people overcoming struggle. And I think that that's very important. But I just want to harken back to our people's beliefs, our people's mythology. I think it's important. I don't necessarily believe in the literally, I'm not a literalist. I don't believe in the literal interpretation of these things. However, there is there is truth in the words. There is truth in these stories. We need to embrace those stories. And in these stories, especially pagan stories, they're not practicing stoicism. Even if you go to Abrahamic faiths, they're not practicing stoicism when they talk about God. Their God. He's a jealous God. He's a wrathful God. He gets angry. Yeah, these are things that Stoicism tries to repress, and yet they seem to have taken over the world, haven't they? I mean, they certainly took over Europe.
I do see Stoicism in the Old Testament, from what I understand. To love God, with all of your heart, is to a degree a Stoic concept, because you're loving what is morally, because God, if you believe that God wants you to do what is morally correct, um, I remember, I think it's Job who was going to sacrifice his son. Uh, and how many people out there, if they had a child who committed murder or some other atrocity, would try to protect that child when they harmed other people? Um, and, and, and instead, no, I'm going to do the right thing. If I had a child that committed murder, I would like to think that I would be noble enough to say, this person committed murder, I'm going to turn him in to the proper authorities. I'm going to make certain that this person pays the price for the harm that he has done to others. You can go ahead.
Yeah, but the story of Job doesn't say that. He wasn't told to kill his son because his son committed murder. He was told to kill his son because God and the devil had a pact, a bet. They were gambling. Go figure. Let
Well, no,
evil
yeah,
suffer.
no, but and I know that I know that his son did not commit murder. I'm just saying that he loved God, that the love of God was before everything else, and to me, that love of God is loving, and he didn't, and God said, do not do that. I mean, and God said, don't do this, and I'm also against animal sacrifice and all that other stuff. But there is a point of me that says you love what is right even before you love the human beings that you love the most. You love what is moral and what is right first. Go ahead.
It's a very, very, to me, I can't even understand why you would bring up the story of Job. Um, I- it was child sacrifice for the love of your religious belief. I, anyway, I perhaps we can discern or extract something out of that story, but to me, gutting your own young child because God told. So, are you a moral relativist, or are you a moral objectivist?
I'm a moral, I believe more of a moral objectivist.
Well, I guess that describes it. So Job was right in gutting his own son because God said so. He won't be able to suffer.
Well, I take that, and again, I take that more as a metaphor. He did not kill his son, but I take that as a metaphor is that you love what is right, even above, and again, I'm not a, I, I've danced through the Bible, and I'm not a biblical scholar. I just take that kind of as a notion of loving what is morally correct above even your own children. You love that which is right. And by the way, I don't agree with the story of Job. I would never sacrifice my own son. I believe that the process of law and due process are there. But if I had a child and I thought that they had committed murder or rape, I would certainly um, want the authorities to deal with that. Um, and
Okay.
I just that's what I kind of gained from that story is you love what is you love God and God wants you to do what is morally right, and the only love that you really need is God's love, and you only have to obey God. You don't have to obey man. And to a degree, I kind of take it as I try to do what is right, and I don't go into man's to man's world kind of thing. I
That's you have a very strange, well, not strange, but interesting. I don't want to use the improper verbiage, but you have a very interesting understanding of the story. I you're not a literalist, but you are a moral objectivist, and you're trying to discern in your own perception the truths of biblical scripture. Uh, I suppose to some extent I try to do that with ancient Indo-European manuscripts. I'm much less knowledgeable on those than I am with Abrahamic manuscripts because obviously they conquered the world. Uh,
for the
so
correction. I'm sorry. It was Abraham called to sacrifice Isaac, not Job. Okay, yeah, I got that one wrong, but it was yeah, and Abraham is the beginning. Like if you look on a historic sense, Abraham is the beginning of what we know as Judaism. But and that's actually I apologize. It's not Job. It's the story of Abraham that I look at um, to 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 basically you know to do what is right above even that which you love the most, even the human beings that you love the most.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for the correction as well, because I followed you right down that path. It was Abraham. Job was made to lose his family, his kingdom, everything, and get really sick. And that was a different story. We're confusing. Hey, we're a couple of atheists over here.
Yeah,
So
and I haven't read the story in a long time, and at the time I was just interested in being my Holy Communion, and I was basically I learned all the prayers, and the story. I learned what I had to learn, and then I've gone back and looked at it and stuff, and I don't know why I thought it was Job, but my mistake. So I apologize. I have a lot to learn with regards to that, and I look into those. I want to look into those stories. Uh, and yeah, Job did have other problems. Go ahead, Donning. You can continue with that.
yeah, no, it's no problem. Like I followed you right down the same path. We're not, versed in the Bible, but um, or well versed in the Bible. You said Job, and I thought Job, but the comment was absolutely correct. Forgive us for our mistake. Um,
Actually, thank you for pointing that out, because we could have done the whole show and then somebody would have put it in the comment section later on. So thank you for that.
yeah, certainly. So, I, you're a moral objectivist, and we're discussing the Bible. The Bible to you seems to have objective truth.
Um, I think people can be inspired by it, and you can perhaps gain bits of knowledge. I'm not really sure on that, but I think people can gain pieces of knowledge.
They certainly can, and of course they're inspired by it. It conquered Europe. I can be inspired by Moby Dick.
Yes, yeah, I could, yeah, and I take it as that. I take it as something that was inspired by man and the mind and whatnot. Maybe even uh, I could even say inspired by God, perhaps. I have mixed feelings about that, but I believe in being as disciplined as I can be. I fail, I fall short many times, and I get back up on my feet, and I I go again to challenge the next day. And that most of the challenges are within myself, within my own emotions and my own nature. I would probably, if if I wasn't disciplined, I'd eat myself into an early grave, and maybe lust after, and spend all my money on lustful and gluttonous things. Human beings do not have a very good nature, so sometimes we have to fight that, not only for ourselves, but also, it helps for civilization. And there's a lot of barbarism uh, in civilization, and we've seen that just recently. You're talking about the George Floyd riots. We saw a level of barbarism, the likes of which we have not seen. And someone just said, I'm an emotional boy. And yet, you know what? You might be right. Donning, I'll give the rest to you, and then I think I will end it. It was good talking to you, though. I mean, you know what? And I'll be honest with you, Donning, I get pissed off too about things. I get angry, and sometimes I want to fight. in my emotional mind, but in my rational mind, I know that it is wrong to do so. And I will repeat myself again. Every just about every moment of anger that I've expressed at a loved one, a friend, or a family member, when I was most emotional, I have regretted it. So I'll leave it with you, and then I'll end the show. So you'll have the last word, Donnie.
Okay, yeah, I think it's probably a good time to end. Can you can you discern truths from historical mythology, be it Abrahamic faiths or something else, Jainism or Hinduism or Buddhism, whatever? There's certainly truth there, and that's something that it took me a while to learn. Uh, I don't know if I've necessarily come to the same conclusions of you, and I think that that's to be expected because I am a moral relativist. I may perceive morality in a different way than you do. I certainly don't think that things are set in stone. Not morality is not set in stone. And as I mentioned, storytelling is probably the most natural and convincing and impactful form of communication. That's why movies are so important. That's why video games are so important. Why poetry and writing books are so important because they convey a sense of through storytelling you can discern these various things. Now, I think that various mythological books are vague enough that somebody like you might have a completely different interpretation from somebody like me or anybody. If you have 100 people read the Bible, they know nothing about it, and then you ask them to tell you what did they take away from it, what moral code do they take away from it, you're probably going to get 100 different explanations of what morality is. To me, that is evidence that morality isn't as dead set as we would maybe like it to be. Uh, so I try to take in the outside world through my eyes, my ears, and my senses, and understand it as best I can. But I know it's not going to line up with what you can understand, and that would be objectivism. I'm a relativist. You're an objectivist. It is what it is. But it's fun to have these talks, and we agree on the main parts. I want you to live a good life. I want pretty much everybody, unless they're a scumbag degenerate, to live a good life, and I'm sure you do the same. And I guess I'll drop the mic for fear of being too long-winded.
Well, I myself, I have been a scumbag degenerate, and I have done things that I regret through my life. And as I look back on my life, I look back upon the church that I was raised, and I don't agree with all of it, but the one thing I do like is the moment of confession, the moment of mea culpa, mea culpa, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa, through my fault, uh, through my fault, through my fault, through my most grievous fault. And it's always important uh, to look as much inward as you possibly can before you look outward. And my ego sometimes doesn't allow that. And it's once been said that ego is man's biggest narcotic. And I want to be a humble person who works as hard as I can. And if people follow it, they follow it. If they don't, they don't. I have my preferences, but they're just preferences. Anyway, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. If you have anything else to enter, I want to mention that Wayne Dennis, High Ridge Estates, Master of Rope Receptions, which is Joe JP, and just go out there and try to live the best life you can. There are lots of people out there that are struggling with illness, inner demons. They're being persecuted, perhaps, and hopefully you will meet the challenges of the day, of the week, of the month, of the year, and of your lifetime with righteousness and maybe even Stoic Calm. Anyway, again, like, subscribe, visit our website at transparencyandmerit.com. Also visit our Rumble page. I put that on one of my pages, and I've neglected to do that. So enjoy the rest of your day and be well.